Hi, everybody, and welcome to the 4th Annual Indie Entertainment Showcase Special presented by Kultura PR and Cloud 21. So happy you're with us, so wherever you're viewing from around the world. Happy Saturday. I know in some parts of the world it is Sunday, so if it's Sunday, welcome as well. I'm your host, Tony Potts. I'm the co-founder of a global media company, The Content Artist. Now, this event, obviously, is virtual this year during the festival. Usually we're in Park City during this time, but it is just fantastic to have everybody here. We have a great panel for you today. I'd like to, briefly introduce our panelists, and then we'll get right into our discussion, which sounds like a fun idea to me. Now, at the end of the panel, we will have a Q&A. So if you have questions throughout, go ahead and get your questions ready, and then we'll look at those, and then we'll pull some out towards the end. I'd like to first introduce Rebecca Leffler. Now, Rebecca is an author and journalist. She's based in Paris. God bless her. I'd love to be living there right now. She is the former France correspondent of The Hollywood Reporter. She's a film critic on Canal Plus Network's hit show Le Grand Journal and film correspondent on France 24. She has published 4 books focused on healthy lifestyle and cooking, which is kind of like what you do when you're in Europe, right? And Rebecca was a creative consultant to Darren Star for his #1 hit Netflix series, Emily in Paris, which my family totally loved because we were locked down and we could not travel to Paris like we normally do. So we went through you. And she's currently the editorial lead and brand content at Lux, and also works for the Marché du Film, which is also known to those of us who speak very little French, but some English, as the Cannes Film Festival and also Cannes Series TV Festival. Welcome, Rebecca. It's a joy to have you.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. As well. Tell us a little bit, if you want to say a few words before we head into some video of you.
Video of me. Bonjour. No, it's great to be here. I obviously wish I was in Park City, but this is the next best thing. And the way that you could travel to Paris through Emily in Paris and into my living room of my French apartment. It's great to be able to be with people from all over the world and talk about the state of the film industry, because I think what we found this year is we're all in this together. So.
Yep. Whether we like it or not, we're all together, and that'll.
Exactly.
I think when there's some friction, some pressure, sometimes gems appear, right?
Exactly. Silver lining.
A little bit of look here at Rebecca Leffler and what she's done and how she got here.
Joining us for this is our film critic, Rebecca Leffler. Welcome to Monster Man Cat.
So around a year ago, the famous Darren Star called me because he had just created this character called...
I'm Emily, your new neighbor.
Enchanté.
And so I ended up going to LA, and I was thrilled to work with the writing team. I'm a creative consultant on the series. It was a great experience.
Has anyone noticed this is a very dysfunctional workplace?
I think you're the one bringing the drama.
Hello, bonjour. I'm really excited to take you on a little tour of Paris during my favorite season, Christmas time, when the City of Lights is all aglow and it's really festive. Hey, let's go. Allez. So here we are at Le Bon Marché, the big famous French department store. They have everything. It's a one-stop shop for literally everything you can think of. This place to me just always represents the magic of the season.
Christmas cookies and the bells on an open sleigh. All I gotta do is shut my eyes and I can see
some jewelry, trop bien, all handmade in France. Bonheur, beautiful, and rêve, amour, magical.
stop to share a smile.
You can even find love here.
Can't deny that Christmas.
Frenchmen are flirts. Just act normal when you see him.
So here I am, surrounded by French pigeons in the actual neighborhood where the real Emily in Paris lived, on the top floor of that appartement. And now we're gonna go to the restaurant. Maybe Gabriel is here waiting for me. Gabriel, Gabriel! Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Ici, Emily in Paris est venue
Tout à fait.
acheter ce fameux pain au chocolat. On peut le voir, ce fameux pain au chocolat qui fait sensation le monde entier. Oh my God! Here we are at Le Panthéon, the Pantheon. There are lots of famous French people that are buried here. My good friends Victor Hugo, Voltaire, Émile Zola, Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Thanks for spending a wonderful day in Paris with me. Wherever you are in the world, sending you l'amour and lumière, love and light from the City of Lights. Bye.
I love that. I've got my fix of Paris, so thank you very much for that. Our next panelist is filmmaker Eva Lanska. She's a London-based director and screenwriter. And now, since graduating from the London Film Academy, Eva has focused on producing both documentary and fictional films. She has directed several award-winning films recognized throughout Europe and America. Her film, Little French Fish, draws attention to the global stigma against interracial marriages through the relationship of an Orthodox Jewish woman and a Muslim man. Now, the short was named an official selection by the Washington Jewish Film Festival. Her previous short, which was called Okay Mum, won Best Picture, or Mum, as they say, at the Los Angeles Film Festival and was selected for the Short Film Corner at the 2017 Cannes Film Festival. She recently announced her first feature, I Am Not an Actress, inspired by the philosophy of Brigitte Bardot. Welcome, Eva. How are you?
Hi, everyone. Hello from London. And thank you for this wonderful presentation of my work.
Well, it's wonderful to have you. And this panel is absolutely incredible. Let's, if we can, let's take a look at a little bit more of Eva's work.
You're very beautiful when you sleep. Your breathing was even and calm, like a child. You had a half smile on your face. What were you dreaming about? My father always said natural beauty is a must. The woman in your life should be as beautiful when she wakes up as she was when she went to sleep at night.
That is just fantastic. Well shot, lighting, everything. That is just fantastic. We look forward to learning more about that as we continue on through the hour. Now I'd like to introduce director, screenwriter Kamila Tarabura, all the way from Poland. So thank you for being here. She graduated from the Warsaw Film School and the Łódź School. Her short film debut, Into the Night, won the Best Short Live Action Film Award at the 36th Annual Warsaw International Film Festival, making it eligible for Academy Award consideration. Love that. Currently, she's developing her first feature film. She's also working with Nina Lewandowska, the writer of Into the Night, on an original coming-of-age series. Kamila gained her film experience, you should know, by making short fictional films, commercials, and music videos, kind of a path a lot of us take, trying to get to as we climb the ladder and get our experience as well. She's also, through her work as an assistant director, which includes a TV series by Jan Komasa, and the film High Life by Claire Dennis. Welcome, Kamila. How are you?
Welcome. Thank you very much for this introduction. I wanted to say dzień dobry also in Polish because Rebecca had this opportunity to say bonjour. So dzień dobry. And thank you for having me, and thank you for this opportunity to spend time with such inspiring people.
Well, thank you for being here. And, Kamila, let's just take a look at the trailer for Into the Night. Let's take a look, everybody.
Sure.
Prawda czy wyzwanie?
Wyzwanie.
A może ja też sobie odpuszczę?
Serio cię zaprosiła?
Nasze mamy się lubią.
Uwaga wszyscy, to jest pojebana!
Chuj się na mnie wieszasz.
Frajerkę chciałaś? Żeby za to łaziła?
Nie! Puść mnie! Puść! No puść mnie!
Po to ze mną polazłeś, co?
That is just fantastic. Now, our next panelist is Christina Rose, CEO and co-founder of Mirror Water Entertainment from Germany. Christina is an American-German director, producer, and screenwriter, and is part of the new Hollyworld movement, which is bringing entertainment to the global world. She has worked in North America, Europe, Africa, and Asia. And together with her brother Michael, she co-founded Mirror Water Entertainment. Prior to this, Christina also worked at such prestigious companies as Arad Productions, Exclusive Media, and ZDF Enterprises. And most recently, she was an executive at the European network Sky, which we all know. Since starting her company, she has produced a number of documentaries and TV series for the international market and is currently finishing her anticipated 6-part documentary series, Wonder Women, where she spotlights young women leaders in underrepresented industries from around the world, which is directors and producers. And so we have that world as well. Welcome, Christina. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm in Germany, so I guess now I get to say Guten Abend, Guten Tag, or because I'm specifically in Bavaria, I get to say Servus. Even though I know we wish we would all be in Park City, but I'm in the valley of the highest mountain in Germany, which is called the Zugspitze. So we have a lot of snow here.
Well, that's something that we would expect, I would imagine. As long as your internet connection stays safe, we'll be fine. Let's take a look actually at Christina's work and from Mirror Water Entertainment. That is fantastic. And our final panelist, I'd like to welcome to the legendary Bruno Chatelin, COO and co-founder of the top website, as we all know, filmfestivals.com. Now, Bruno is a graduate of HEC MBA and spent 10 years with the prestigious international advertising agencies JWT, Macias, and Publicis. He also then became a film distribution person and launched some 250 films as marketing director for Columbia TriStar, and served as managing director for UGC Fox. Actually, he was recognized as an innovative marketing expert and named the Film Francais by Film Francais as one of the top film personalities when he merged the leading theater chain UGC and Fox. Bruno went on to become an internet entrepreneur and co-founded several companies, including filmfestivals.com, which we all go to, and that has become a global leader in festival news and a partner of all of the major film festivals and markets. Now, today he serves as the company's COO while curating the Best for Fests section, a must read. Welcome, Bruno. How are you?
Oh. I'm home for a change. It's been a year where I've been stuck in Paris instead of monthly trips to film festivals. And in your few words about my career, it struck me that basically what drives me is two things: creativity, being close to creative people, and recently, probably in the last 3 decades, festivals. And I've been in love with film festivals, and I've been in any capacity of them you can imagine, building festivals, counseling them, being a jury president, journalist or just a filmmaker having a film there, and it's always fun. Whatever you do, wherever you sit, it's always so fun, and I miss that. I also realized this love for festivals and missing maybe of the extreme challenging times of my days with studios marketing films and mostly big movies and important movies. All the marketing skills I have developed there, innovating in many ways, I wanted to bring them to the independent world. And I've been advising filmmakers, helping them with marketing, with festival strategy, you name it, for maybe 7-10 years. It's been a great ride working with documentary filmmakers, with feature filmmakers, which I basically help getting a strategy and navigate on the festival circuit. So here I am, looking at festivals through Zoom and enjoying those great panel sessions, meeting many more people than I thought I would. So I'm kind of enjoying. The last thing, contrary to everyone, I'm happy I'm not in Sundance. I'm happy not to be in Park City. I find it too cold.
Yeah, well, it's my first time when I went there was 1999. I went 13 straight years, and it was a last-second decision. I used to host Access Hollywood, which is a fairly big entertainment show, weekly show, or daily show here. And they last minute were like, hey, let's go to this festival called Sundance. I don't know. They'll send me. So I went there with no boots, one turtleneck, somewhat of a bomber jacket and no gloves. So luckily, wardrobe was like, oh my God. So they sent me a bunch of stuff. But yeah, I'm a Southern California guy. I was in New York for years, but I'd rather shovel sunshine than snow. Even if I was in Germany, in the valley of below the highest mountain. Bruno brought up a really good point. Rebecca, I'll start with you first. We're all super creative people, right? And when you're this creative and you do what we do, we can't be boxed in. Right? That's just our nature. But COVID has boxed us in, right? So I'd like just to go around and start with you, Rebecca. Like, how has it? What do you miss most about the creative process? What do you miss most, about everything? Since now we have basically somewhat of a lockdown.
Everything, basically. I think it's interesting. In October, I'm part of this festival called Cannes Series, and it's a festival. It's in Cannes, but it's been 3 years now, and it's devoted to TV series. And so it was the first festival. I mean, the Palais du Festival, the big Palais in Cannes where everything happens. Yeah. I know at the end of this year, the mayor had said they lost 99% of their annual income. I mean, 99%, that's a lot. It's because they have not only the big Cannes Film Festival, they have markets there, they have MIPCOM, they have everything. And so they really struggled. And it was COVID. We had all of our masks on and everything was clean, but it was such a joy to be able to interact with people and meet people. And it's not the same, but I think, I know in the same way you were describing your first Sundance. I think we all, I always said, you always remember your first time. And I lost my film festival virginity when I went to Cannes in 2005, I think. I was, early 20s. I'd never been to any film festival. And here I was thrown into Cannes. And I think we all remember those experiences because you meet people. It's so spontaneous. And I think, you can plan your days, but I think it's that human connection, which is the human connection that makes films. I mean, I think some of the best films are made because people meet randomly in Cannes, at a party late at night, or in Sundance, they're, drinking in Toronto. It's the same thing. I remember Toronto, the joy of it is seeing, Clint Eastwood drinking a beer in jeans next to, me and, anyone. And so I guess, I think we all miss what we miss about life, which is human interaction, and especially, film festivals. That's what it's about. Yes, it's about screening films and the artistry, but I think it's really about the artists, I was saying before, I think I feel badly for the younger generation of filmmakers who this year won't be able to show their films, screen them in Sundance and see the audience crying or laughing or feeling emotion. Because I guess you all can speak to that with me, but that's why you make films. So I guess that's what I miss the most.
Yeah, I miss, I went to the Deauville Film Festival for the first time, and I remember coming back from a shoot, and it was like 11 o'clock at night, went into my room, and then my producer said, look, you should come down to the grand foyer. And I said, okay, why? I'm tired. He's like, you should just come down. And it's Michael Douglas, it's Kirk Douglas, it's Robin Williams, it's Pierce Brosnan, it's Catherine Zeta-Jones, and they're all just drinking. Somebody, Robin's playing the piano, and those kinds of things, what humans need for interaction. And when you don't have that, I don't know how we, work with our creativity and how we create. Eva, I'd love to ask you, what this has meant to you and how you've been able to not be boxed in and still, have your creativity. Need to turn her mic on though. There we go.
Actually, the last film festival what I visited in person was Berlin Film Festival, so last year. And it was already COVID, so we used masks and everybody was a little bit in stress. But of course, this kind of interaction and to see people in person, you cannot replace this. So I terribly miss this, and I'm waiting when it's going to be possible again. So I stay in London during all this year, and here is completely like everything is closed. So we try to motivate each other by call, by Zoom, and actually trying to new format how we can adapt ourselves to this situation. So if I can say later about my new project, Motek, my new film, what I hope you're going to see 14th February, like a premiere. This is this kind of film, how I try to make a film with the current situation of lockdown. One of the example. But we cannot stop creativity. This is what about.
Absolutely. And Kamila, the same to you. I mean, I think what we're speaking about here can help other filmmakers and people in the business too, to learn from you guys of how you're trying to channel your creativity while being boxed in, so to speak.
Well, for sure, I have more time for writing right now, but I miss the meetings that were this energy that creates during a meeting with another screenwriter, because I love to collaborate with someone on the screenplay. This is just something you cannot have on the Zoom. So I miss this possibility of traveling to the small cabin in the woods where together with my friend, a screenwriter, we just talk, drink wine, and have ideas, all the time out of the box. Even when we think we don't work, we like transfer all the time some new ideas. And just going back to the topic of film festivals, I had this this possibility to show my film on the festival, on the Warsaw Film Festival, and have this experience of sitting in the audience and just checking how this resonates with people. And it was amazing, and I'm so happy that I had this privilege, because just 2 days after the film festival, there were new regulations, and the whole, cinema in the Palace of Culture where the festival took place was shut down. And it's so sad, that there is no life right now. And the next film festival was online, and I must say that sitting alone in the house and watching my film, and I know that there are some people somewhere separated and also watching this, but it's not the same. So I really miss, as all of you just said, that we miss this energy of the meetings.
Well, and I also, it's a good point, Christina, I'll come to you, is that I miss sitting at a cafe somewhere, on the Corset or whatever, meeting somebody and thinking to myself, oh crap, I can't help you, but hold on a second. Let me text this person. I know they're down the street. Let's bring them in. I think that's one of the things too. I think we all miss, Christina, is the ability to just by happenstance meet people be creative with people, and now we're kind of like this.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the spontaneity. It's the things that we don't plan for that happen as they just occur to us. And you know, there are two things for us right now that we've been struggling with, in the sense that because we've been in post-production for our documentary series, and certainly there are things that we would be doing kind of as we're doing it right now via Zoom or calls or Skype or FaceTime, just because my composer, he's in LA, he's working on it. And I have my sound designer in India, and he's been working on it. But I think what has been very hard for us is just planning for production and getting that started. And we're one episode short of completing it, and we've been kind of sitting all in our chairs because we're trying to get to India to film our last episode. And it's been, I mean, we've been planning this for a month now, and we're in the last process of seeing if we can get our visas approved. And it just, it's hard. And it's the fact of being able to collaborate, to be together with people, to have the, like I said, the spontaneity, the flexibility of just things happening that we don't plan for, because that's where creativity is often born in ways that we can't imagine, period.
100%. Well, let's get to some of your projects. And Rebecca, I want to start with you in the sense of, you know, real quickly, I think we understand a little bit from your video how you got involved with Emily in Paris, but were you ready for just the explosion on Netflix? I mean, listen, it's such a romance to Paris, the way it was shot. I mean, Darren Star does that kind of stuff, and the crew he works with, you know, the cinematographers. It's just beautifully shot, and it's just like a love letter. But it, like that, overnight just hit, and it was huge.
Well, I think it's funny because, you know, Christina was just talking about the spontaneity of everything, and my involvement in the show is the perfect example of that. It's a producer, the executive producer of the series, who's a French producer who I've known for years, who I met at an after party from the César Awards, the first time I ever went, and was partying into the night with all these French actors, and he was there. And Darren wrote the script for the pilot himself, and it was, the producer read the script and he said, I hate to tell you, you invented this fictional character, but she exists in real life. I know her. Her name's Rebecca. This is her life and her personality. And so you should talk to her. So at first, again, I was just talking to Darren and the writers on over Skype at the time. And then I was sitting in my office in Paris one Friday, and I get a text, oh, can you be in LA in the writer's room on Monday? And I was like, well, no, but yes. And I flew to LA and I went to the writer's room and I consulted on the series. And it was really amazing because I worked on it. We created the characters and wrote all the scripts. I basically shared my entire life. I wrote a novel several years ago that was adapted for a TV series, but then it was never made. And so I kind of just I just took everything and said, look, you're Darren Star, you're making the series, take my life, run with it. And it was really interesting for me watching the series because it was filmed in a pre-COVID Paris, and I was watching it when we were in lockdown. And so it was, for me, even nostalgic just to watch it. And I know a lot of my French friends enjoy watching it and seeing, oh, remember what life was like? And to me, it was also, you know, looking back at my 20s and seeing kind of the mirror of me when I was that age and all the, you know, excitement of being there that obviously has been lost after 16 years. But
yeah. And real quickly, did any of your girlfriends call you and they're texting and go, was there really that good looking of a dude down below your apartment?
Funnily enough, I'm wishing now in lockdown that there was someone downstairs, but recruiting for that. But no, I actually did have, that's actually one of the true anecdotes, was I had a little fling with my neighbor. He lived across the street. But a lot of the stories, the plumbing story, I mean, a lot of my stories were actually true stories are so ridiculous that they couldn't even be fictionalized because no one would believe them. I mean, I've had, you know, the plumbing story. It was crazy things happen.
That's fantastic. Eva, real quick, we had seen in your presentation that you've just finished a new script about the life of Brigitte Bardot. Tell me about that, and tell me, you know, look, there's a million things about her and her life that I think are amazing. But for you, what resonated and with that project?
Yes, this is, we can say this is a little personal, because actually I used to live in Paris as well, many years ago. And I was a singer. And once one of the producers, French producers, proposed me to make a Serge Gainsbourg reprise cover version, like remakes. And one of the songs was a Brigitte Bardot song. So, I mean, I started to make more research about Brigitte Bardot, and I found something like very special things. Actually, everybody knows Brigitte Bardot like a beautiful actress, a singer, but she's much more. And I think the audience around the world, they don't see all picture about her. Actually, she is the woman who would dedicate her life, for example, to protect the animals in many different things. So I was so inspired by her character, her willpower. So I decided to show all picture, to show the whole world what is this Brigitte Bardot life, what is it about. So this is how, and it took to me maybe 5 years to make the script, and I found different kind of writer with who I participate this work in London and in Los Angeles. So we did the script finally all together, and I hope we're going to film this year. I'm working with, and I'm very excited.
Fantastic. Kamila, tell us about your journey for Into the Night and kind of the festival journey, and now that it seems that it is it has Oscar aspirations. People are chatting about that. Give us a little rundown of what you've gone through.
Well, the Into the Night was written by Nina Lewandowska, the screenwriter. We met because I wanted to collaborate with her on my own project, but then she showed me this screenplay, and I was like, oh my God, it's somehow about myself, because I remember I was very shy when I was a teenager. So this story about a teenage withdrawn, shy girl was somehow close to me. And also my sister is like 15 years younger than me, and I thought that it's somehow important to tell the story for my sister and for her generation. And I was like talking a lot with my sister thanks to that movie, and thanks to I wanted her to consult the next versions of the screenplay and so on and so on. Later we produced the film with the Munch Studio and Papaya Films. We had many limitations because the budget wasn't big, and we had like 5 shooting days for 30-minute film, which was really like crazy timing. But I think we collected so great group of people who were very much involved, and I think they had the same vision of this film as I did, and we managed to do this. I think because really everyone puts their heart in this journey. Our film was premiered at Warsaw Film Festival. It was our first festival we were participating. We won an award for the best live action short, and that's why we became Oscar eligible. Our next step is Zoom In Film Festival for short films. So basically, this is how this process looked like.
Yeah, you build momentum. Christina, I'm curious of how you came up with the idea for the documentary series, Wonder Women. Where did that generate, and what can we expect?
Yeah, the project kind of came to us in a sense because my cousin, who's a fisherwoman in Alaska, she was visiting my brother, who was living in Portland, Oregon at the time. And she was talking about how women in the fishing industry, you know, they're having a tough time, they're underrepresented, and this all kind of tied into the Me Too movement. And so the next day, my brother called me, and he's like, I think we have a very interesting documentary here to do. And so from that, we kind of said, okay, it's not just women in the fishing industry, but let's take this global and let's take it to all industries. And we kind of defined underrepresentation of 15% or less. And so that's where we just have been looking at, you know, and we're featuring race car driver, astronaut, pilot, baseball player. So I think it's very fascinating. They're all young leaders. They're going to shape the future of our world. And so it's really been a great journey to be able to join them and see them kind of grow even during these times. I mean, I'm in contact with all of them, and they're just amazing women.
I grew up in Seattle, so I know the Alaska fishing world very well. In fact, my sister married into a family that's been there forever. You cannot really get a fishing license commercial in Alaska. They rarely come for sale. You have to be passed through generations. And so because of that generational pass through, you're not going to get many women there. And if any of you have ever been to Alaska, it's like a manly man kind of a place. And it's, you know, I mean, there's some salt of the earth, obviously people there as well, but it's a very, very tough industry to get into. And it's and the weather's brutal and the situations are brutal. So anyways, I look forward to that. And Bruno, you know, everybody here is talking about the festivals and the first time and remembering that, and you know, Kamila was talking about, you know, going to a festival for the first time. You know, what is it? You're the film festival expert. You've pretty much done it all. How important is a festival to play at a festival for a film and for a filmmaker?
Very important. You want me to elaborate on that? Yeah, I will a bit. No, before that, I just
for the layman who doesn't know about festivals, you know, they don't understand that there's, you know, you got Telluride comes up, and if you get some notice there, then, you know, it kind of builds. But, you know,
it's a long story. 10,000 film festivals. That's a long story. I'll come back to that. But before that, Tony, I'd like to comment on your story of the first time in Deauville. I've been maybe 20 times in Deauville. And my first time in Deauville, I was there with Michael Douglas as well. I actually found we had a very big deal with Mouette et Chandon, and basically we were drowning in Dom Pérignon, and you name it. We had as much as we could eat or drink or whatever. And one day we were with the team of the movie Flatliners there, and that was my first festival with in Deauville, and there was Julia Roberts. After a while at this party, we went home, and she was dating Kiefer Sutherland. So it's just like a platonic friendship, you know. And so before I was about to say goodbye to her, and I was initiating the movement, shaking hands as we do in France. I said, "No, come on," and she gave me a hug. That was my coming of age in the film industry, which is, well, if you're part of it. You're part of it, and also coming back to what Rebecca told earlier, reminded me. So it's her story about was it Clint Eastwood having beer? Well, I have a Spielberg story, and there's something common in it, which is a piece of advice I'll give to the filmmakers, which is when you meet someone famous, just say, "Oh, hi, we met in Cannes," or "We met in Sundance." And I'll tell you how this came to me. My first Cannes, I'm at the opening with my boss. I was marketing director at the moment. And just in front of us, in the seat in front of us, was Steven Spielberg. So at the end of the screening, my boss taps on his shoulder. I say, "Oh, hi, Steven. I'm Steve. We met in Cannes." And blah, blah, blah. So we started talking 10 minutes. And after this was done, I asked Steve, "Did you actually meet him?" And say, "No." So he was lying, but it worked. So what I mean is it's a leap of faith. It's a little bit like one of the films I released called Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. So you have to lie a little bit to show you're part of of that group, of that environment, of that family. They call it, once when you are in, you can call it the family. When you are out of it for a different reason, then you say, no, it's not a family, it's a fake family. And anyway, that's a different it's a different story. Also, I wanted because I want also to pay tribute to Kamila, because if filmfestivals.com has 200,000 readers. Well, since Friday evening, most of them, if they read my newsletter, know about Into the Night, because Camila's film was on top of it. It was on the top of a newsletter. Yeah, yeah. How was Kamila? How was the special screening you had yesterday?
Very good, very good. It was difficult for my friends from Poland to participate because it was in the night, middle of the night. Yeah. But I received many messages from my friends from LA and from New York who were participating, and they really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So thank you, Kamila. Now, Tony, your very important question: how important is a film for a festival for a filmmaker? Well, I would say it's vital. It's kind of a rehearsal. If you are a short filmmaker, in many cases, your short is the prototype for a feature film that you want to make. And therefore testing the various elements, the team that you put together, whether the audience likes the story, etc. And it's very important to listen and to take notice. I'll give you an example. I produced a short film about a historical event in Paris during World War II, where a young Jew was saved by the imam of a French mosque. They saved actually more than 1,000 young Jews by pretending they were Muslims. So they taught these kids Arabic. And when the Nazi came, they were trapped. They thought they were Muslims. So these people, anyway, it's a great story, fantastic story, and a true story. So when we came to Cannes, we were selected in the festival, and we actually won a prize, which was half of our budget. So we were lucky. But first thing I did in Cannes was open the catalog. Guess what I saw in the feature film catalog? There was a film on the same theme. And unfortunately, it was the same story, true story. And unfortunately, it was bad. So that was the end of the project. So basically, yeah, making short is important. What's very important also, we have all said it. It's meeting people that will become colleagues, meeting festival directors who like your first film. And guess what? When you make your second, you can call them, email them back saying, hey, I'm an alumni. My film was selected in Sundance last year or 10 years ago. Will you take this film for consideration? And please waive the fee. I don't want to submit with the fee because that can be very expensive. I mean, 10,000 festivals around. Let's say $50 in average, you can't submit to all. So you have to select. That's what I do with my consulting thing is, finding out which ones are important, because yes, some festivals, to answer your question in more detail, some are more important than the others. And clearly you can say that the bigger festivals are the more important, Cannes, etc., Berlin, Toronto, because you meet people, but also some of the smaller one where, because it's a human dimension, you get friendly with other people. If you attend the festival that Emir Kusturica does in Kusterdorf, Nicole loves it, I know. Well, you have breakfast with Emir, you have dinner with Emir, you drink his booze, and everyone is there, stuck in the mountain resort. You have to stay there, so you make friends. So it makes careers. Sometimes it can break it, but if you're strong, you can win, even though they broke it. I remember, maybe I should stop, but I'll take this one as the last example I want to give. Luc Besson showed at the opening his Le Grand Bleu. You remember that, Rebecca? The Big Blue, or whatever they translated it. And It was a disaster at the press screening early in the morning. Ils ont sifflé, they wooed, and etc. At the evening ceremony where I was, it was applauded, and but then the media continued to trash it. And from that moment, Besson stopped showing his films to the press because he thought they could harm it. But guess what? The audience loved it. He made about 9 million admissions, and his catchline on the poster was, "Don't go see it. It's 3 hours long," because there was so much traction, so much repeat business. People would see it 7 times in a row. So yeah, I can go on for hours. Stop me when you want, because festivals are so important.
Yeah, I think pick up on a couple things. Rather than use the word lie, I would say fake it to make it works pretty well.
Yeah. Lie is me being French, so it's a wrong.
I know. But yeah, fake it to make it thing works. My thing with George Lucas was I was actually in Cannes with him, but I just referred back to, hey, I met you at Skywalker Ranch. You showed me the best seat in your theater a couple of weeks ago. And he's like, yeah, you're the guy. So it was inverse for me, but those kinds of little tips when you're working your way up always work, because somebody's not going to, and by the way, we meet so many people at festivals, it's just a blur, right? So I think that, you can always say, hey, I met you here or there, and it works. So that's great.
Yeah, the other very important tip is always wear a big camera, big one. That's your entry in any party, because you say, I'm going to film. Oh, all right, you're in, even though you don't have I once had a trainee in Cannes. I usually have lots. And the next day, she came back with a picture on her cell phone, and it was a selfie with George Lucas and one of the actors in there. And she said, how did you get in? Because I didn't get an invite. I said, well, I smiled and a camera.
Well, women tend to have that ability over us. I want her to say, it's not me too, it's them too. Yeah.
Look
at these 4 smiles. Are they going to get a no going into someplace? They are not. Yeah. You and our mugs, it ain't going to happen.
we are toast, Tony.
Yeah. Listen, everybody. So we have about, I think, maybe 10 or 15 minutes left. Let's just go around. Rebecca, tell us, what you're working on, what's going on with you, anything that you'd like to promote, anything that you've heard you want to maybe espouse on.
Well, I think, Bruno's wisdom and everything you were saying too, I think it's really interesting because, I think we're all very nostalgic, and Bruno mentioned that, the film industry is a family. And I've always felt that way about the French film industry, that it's kind of like when you're not in, it's, they can be kind of a little bit like Emily in Paris, as you saw, a little standoffish. But once you're in, you're in. They treat you, you're accepted as in the family, and it's everybody knows everybody. But I found that even, especially today, I think it's just hearing your stories and all. I think we probably were in the same room at the same parties in Deauville. We didn't know each other at the time, and I think it's really exciting that it's become so international. And I think part of the appeal of a virtual festival that, people that are watching now that might not have been able to if they were running around Sundance and really busy. And in Cannes is the same thing. And so I think there's less human interaction, but at the same time, there might be more human interaction. And I think film festivals are I always look at them as like camp. They're like summer camp for, you're with these people for a week. And by the end, I was just in this TV series, Cannes Series Festival. And by the end, you know everyone on the jury. When you say goodbye, you want to cry because you felt like all these people. And especially, you all know, when you go year after year after year, it's really like you're coming home and seeing people from your family again. So I think that that's what we all miss. I guess, I could speak for a million years on this topic, but I'm not really promoting anything, just, wanting to promote it. Wear your mask so we can all get back to film festivals, get a vaccine. And
Thank you. Eva, I'll open up to you as well. Anything that you want to tell us or thoughts that you had on what anybody else was saying? I mean, I do know that especially on film sets, when you make a film, it's kind of what Rebecca was saying at festivals. You're with these people for 3 weeks or 6 weeks, whatever it happens to be. You become this family. And I can say one thing real quick about in or out. In Hollywood, the one thing is like I always tell people, just get on the lot. Just get on the damn lot. Especially young people, however you can get in on the lot, just get inside the gate. And then once you're on the lot, then you're golden. You can work your way up, but just get on the damn lot. But back to what Rebecca was saying, as filmmakers and directors, it's the same thing, right? When you're with a group of people, you're making a project, you become like family, and then you have to say goodbye. It's hard.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And I hope very soon we can come back to normal life, and we can come back to a film festival where we can see each other. Actually, myself, from my experience, I mean, all the people who I met in film festivals in real, they still were my friends, and we still collaborate and calling each other, and like you're right, like a family. So I wish all of us, soon as possible, to come back in this kind of normal life. If I may, just few words about my project, what I just finished. We cannot stop create even in lockdown when everything closed. So I just like trying to use this reality and continue filming. So we did a project, it's called Motek. And this is very short stories, many stories, talking about couples who met in lockdown during 2020. This is a love story. Actually, people who were single for a long time in this kind of situation become together. And this is very interesting. So the first series, I'm so happy and excited to announce, is going to be 14 February, because we know the date.
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Days. And this is a love story, so this is the best date. And the channel is called It's Short TV. So here you are, here, 14th of February, first episode of Motek.
Fantastic. We'll look forward to that. We were actually considering, my producing partner and I were considering a small little reality series called Lockdown Love. Because a lot of interesting things have happened during lockdown. Kamila, I'll open the room to you as well, and any comments and things. Feel free to whatever you want to say.
Yeah, I would like to tell a short example of how important is this coexistence of film festivals and filmmakers and other projects. Because when our film was premiered at the Warsaw Film Festival, there was a young man in the audience. It was the assistant of a big producer, a big Polish producer, and he liked our film so much that he told his producer about our film. And I was asked to develop coming of age series drama, thanks to this coincidence that the right man watched the film at this moment. So this is something that I'm developing right now, the coming of age series drama based somehow on the true story of my first friendship when I was in high school. And I work on this with Nina Lewandowska because I think this is something I would love to do in my professional life, to have a team which will be the same for the projects, because as you said, it's somehow like your second family. It's always good to spend this time with people who you like, who are somehow inspiring you. So I feel like thanks to this short film, I built some team and a crew that I would like to cooperate with the next projects.
That's fantastic. Let's go to a little bit of Q&A here and see what we have. People want to know, and anybody can just raise your hand or who wants to go. One of it is what's the key to creating a project that will allow you to get to festivals? Or do you have to reverse engineer, or is it you just create a project and because it's so good? Any advice for anybody out there? Anything that's worked for you guys? Anybody want to take that one to Q&A from our audience?
If I understood the question well, I think it's the order shouldn't be like that. I feel like we should develop our stories which we have, with which we have some emotional attachment, which are somehow close to ourselves. I don't know, life experience or imaginary. And I think the next step is festivals, and there are always some festivals which will be right for the project. I think it's not a good idea to create the project for for a specific festival.
Okay, perfect. And also, how do you choose what stories to tell? I mean, we all have great stories, and we hear great stories. Anybody, how do you decide if you have 3 or 4, what's your process?
My go there is with one thing is don't choose to tell your story if it's not the story that big enough. And I want just make a joke that's very important. I remember being in a panels and someone. I was with a French producer, and I told him, look, the French make people about 3 people who meet, like the brother, the father, and blah blah blah. L'histoire de 3 types qui se rencontrent. The Americans make close encounters of the third kind. L'histoire de 3 rencontre du troisième type. It doesn't really translate, but it's very important. In France, we have too many stories that are banal, that don't let your emotion take thrive or whatever. That's just your day-to-day story. People want to see more, something that make them dream, make them move. That's one way. And also, my other thing is I've always seen when I discuss with the producers of big movies, I understand that it's been an amount of work that very few filmmakers in the independent work realize how much effort they put in the script, how many rewrites they go through. And I remember my boss at Sony used to say the average number of rewrites for a script in Hollywood at Sony was 17. And that was 30 years ago. I'm sure now we are close to 170 or 700. I mean, it's crazy. It's and many the film script writers I talk to say, don't realize that. They just think that's good enough. If I like it, it's good enough. So be careful.
Christina, how about you?
Well, there are 3 factors where we look kind of into projects. One is we really try to search for local projects that have deep roots in various countries, but have a global appeal. Because I think, especially now, what we're seeing is that stories travel globally. And right now, we are facing global issues. I mean, it's not just a pandemic, but it's also climate change. And I think in terms of the film world, now more than ever, it's important to show those stories to a global audience. And I think there's a lot we can learn from stories that are rooted and that are very local and that they travel outside of the countries. And I think, again, we're seeing that our countries, borders are being closed down. Now, more than ever, we need to tell these stories. We need to give people, independent filmmakers, I know it's very hard for a lot of people right now, but we need to open doors. We need to give them the stage and let them share their voice and their stories and support them as best as we can. So that's one factor. Other factors is of course, we all want to be entertained, but how can we tell stories that are educational and that are enlightening, where we, for months afterwards, still think about something of that story and we look inside the mirror and we learn something about ourselves. And personally, one thing that really is always interesting to me, it's one of the reasons why we do both documentaries and fiction, is just based on true stories and real stories. So those are some of the key factors we look at.
Fantastic.
If I can add, I think it has to be, I think what you're all saying in different ways, but in the same way, is that things have to be authentic. And it's really interesting having seen, there's a real time when anytime the French film industry or TV industry tries to do it like the Americans, it's not the same. But I find that the more French the series is, if you look at, I don't know if you've seen Ask My Agent or 10%, it's very, very franco-français. It's very much about the ins and outs of the French film industry. It's very specific, yet it has international appeal because it's the theme of Emily in Paris. The more she's herself, the more people will accept her. When she tries to fit in and be like the French people, then it doesn't work. And I think having seen, if you're trying too hard to fit into one kind of, be yourself, and it works in most cases. And I think when we see, the most German of shows, a lot of the Israeli shows that we're seeing that are not, they don't plan to be seen all over the world. They just do their thing. Those are the ones that people like because you're really getting a glimpse into those cultures. And that's what's so amazing now, that on Netflix you can see a German film and a Israeli series and a French series and really get, I think, especially in this time that no one can travel for now, it's great to be able to do it that way. So.
No, that's great advice, because when I was first starting in the business to be a presenter in front of the camera, which I ended up being, I went to somebody who was fairly famous at the time, and he said to me, "When all else fails, be yourself." Because in television, especially when it's live, in what I was doing, there's always going to be screw ups, and if you think for half a second on live television, oh, how would this anchor guy do it? It's going to take you half a second. But if you react immediately, how, say, Tony would react, your audience will then they'll react to whatever went wrong live on the air, kind of in the same way. And then they'll have this kinship with you. I was on a show in New York called Good Day New York, a morning show. And I would, things went wrong all the time. And it was actually part of the show. It was actually fun. But when I went out in New York, I get people, oh, you want to grab a cup of coffee? Can I buy you a beer? Because they felt like we had this connection, right? It's one of those things that I think, back to your point, Rebecca, about the storytelling is, we just finished Call My Agent. And what's nice about that, or, we also did, my daughter and I, because my wife won't watch scary things. My daughter's 16. I almost said my wife is 16. That would be very scandalous. My daughter's 16. We watched.
Very French.
Yeah, exactly. Very French. We watched Money Heist, right? But all of these have themes that real people and real emotions would go through. So the connectivity of that, and I think that's part of the beauty of film as well, when you can tap into something, say it's two teenagers, in that world, what really works are the opportunities or those emotions that people can relate to. It's not manufactured, or what would a teenager think, all of those kinds of things. I grew up in Seattle, so, when grunge music started to become huge, we were like, no, it's real. Like, we're talking about kids here who have been pushed aside, haven't been thought about in the 80s, latchkey kids, and there's this growing angst and anger that nobody up here in the mainstream was ever thinking about. But this was real boiling up stuff that kids were like, yo, Jeremy, I can relate to that song by Pearl Jam. I can understand those lyrics. So I think it's amazing when you guys you're so talented and so successful, and you tap into that. It just blows me away of what you've all done. One more thing I wanted to ask. We're going to go a little bit longer if everybody's okay with that, because we have so much to talk to, and we have questions as well. One of the things I wanted to ask Bruno about is we talked about the film festivals and how important they are. I believe you have a pretty interesting story about Boys in the Hood, do you not?
Yeah. Actually, that's a good question, and it
I get one panel. I get one good question a panel, and the other ones all suck. So you got the good one.
Okay, because it's a follow-up of the previous question, which is very important. How important are film festivals? And I can, as far as Boys in the Hood is concerned, I was in charge, and basically I got the film from the studio, actually a tape those days, a tape, and we sent it to Gilles Jacob, the head of Cannes, and to my huge surprise, I must say, he loved it. Yeah, I didn't think it would go to Cannes. It was the first feature film. And he said, you're in. Wow. And then I started being, it was February. Cannes is in May, so I had like 3-4 months to work. I said, shit, I'm in deep trouble because I don't know anything about black film. And asked my press attaché, please find me someone who does, who can give us some pieces of advice so we can understand what this film is, how special it is, etc. And she actually found one journalist at Libération. And this is the first person in the world who saw the film. We invited him to watch the film in our screening room, second after Gilles Jacob, actually. And he came out with red eyes. He had cried and said, oh my God, this is Orson Welles. And then say, wow, we have something there. And we started working. We don't have 15 minutes to tell the whole story of what we did. Basically, we followed what the film was about. We were authentic to everything, and we did it in a creative way. And it worked. That's the final thing. The only thing I want to say, it worked like hell. We had to turned down 1,500 people at the screening. People could not get in, and we had a huge queue, and we were allowed to do a second screening, which is rare, and we put up an ad saying, by demand, second screening, and that's already won, you know. We had all the black community in there. We had built the house with kids from the difficult suburbs from the area, blah, 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 and the film was a huge success. Everything was a big success. So I very often describe that marketing story, which is a long story, as a fairy tale because it worked from beginning to end. What's the ending? The ending was the head of the studio telling me, shaking hands, saying, Bruno, thanks. Thank you very much. Thank everyone in your team. You did a great job, blah, blah, blah. I'm going home. I'm going to change the domestic box office estimate. I'm going to raise that for 30 million, which was what he believed the film would achieve in US and Canada. And I'm going to put 50. Basically, he was saying, basically 20 for US plus 20 for the rest of the world. Cannes brought $40 million to this film. That's the only time in my career where I could put actually a figure on what a well-produced campaign could do to a movie. That's one element. Box office. To be honest, the film did actually more. It did 57 at the box office. It provoked riots, the shootings in the theaters, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, but the great thing for John Singleton was he got nominated, and he was the youngest nominated director. He was nominated twice, and he went on making movies. He's for Sony. You mentioned, Eva mentioned, I think, the Los Angeles festival. Stephanie Ellen, who used to produce the film, also run the LA's festival. It was a great film festival. And after that experience, Sony decided to do an ethnic studio. He went on making many more films. What's my personal biggest memory in that experience was 2 years ago when Cannes decided to pay an homage to John because he died just a few days before Cannes. So they decided to screen the film. I made an article, told a little in filmfestivals.com, and told a little bit of the marketing story, things we'd done at the time. And then I got an email from his daughter. She said, hey, Bruno, you don't know me. I read about what you did in Cannes. I'd love to be there for my dad's memory, blah, blah, blah. So I spoke with Thierry Frémaux, the Cannes Festival, and we organized, in 4 days, we organized everything, like panels where we did all this introduction at the red carpet and a private cocktail with in Thierry Frémaux's terrace where Leonardo DiCaprio came, and for Justice Singleton, it was heaven. She was walking the footsteps of her dad, seeing everything and enjoying the magic of Cannes. And end of my long story, she said, Bruno, I want you to know you made my day the same way you made my dad's. And my God, my hair is like that, just thinking what a compliment. And because that's what we do when we work for a film, we put our guts and we try anything you can. So yeah, fairy tales happen, and they happen in film festivals, I swear.
That's a fantastic story. Okay, so before we go, we have a few minutes. Let's do a little rapid fire. I'm just going to ask for those watching and say you know, think back to when you were 18, 19, you had goals and you want to do this. What's one piece of advice, just one quickly, that you would give to somebody out there that you've learned? It can be anything, you know, whether you're on a set and you did something right or wrong or whatever it happens to be, just something really simple that, you know, somebody out there who's thinking, wow, you know, these women are amazing. They've done this. Bruno's amazing as well. So I'll start, Eva, with you real quick. I'll start with you, then I'll go to Rebecca and Kamila and Christina. But
okay.
Eva.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Actually, we already talked about the script, but what I learned, the script, this is a base, the most important base. It's like a gold for each film. So my advice, always follow your instinct and always do only the story where you fully believe in. Believe in 100%. And if you believe, just do it and the universe is going to help you.
Fantastic. Rebecca, let's go to you.
I'm stealing this from Conan O'Brien, but he said at one point, and I've always remembered this, that work really, really hard and be really, really nice to people. And I found that, you know, all of the Catherine Deneuve's and Jean Reno's and Clint Eastwood's and all these people that could have, Steven Spielberg, that could have been terrible were really nice, especially when I was young and starting out. And I think that the most successful people that I've seen on all sides of things, production, development, everything, it's just you have to work really, really hard. People don't always see that side of it, but also just be really, really nice to people, because, you know, you see that everything comes back to you, and the people who start out that aren't important become important, and the people, you know, that, I mean, so I've had a lot of those full circle moments where, you know, the little director, when I was just like a young little student, they were super nice, and I loved being able to then give their film a really great review, not because they were nice to me, because the film was good, of course, but to be able to kind of, you know, pay it back. So yeah.
I agree with that. I mean, the nice factor and being yourself in front of these people is really important, because many of them have been around for years and they can smell bullshit a mile away.
I agree.
You know, and also, you know, be kind and take an extra beat, an extra breath. You know, I've met a lot of people, obviously, in my career around the world and what have you. And there's a super famous actor that I won't mention. But when he was just coming up, we were at a certain function and our show's pretty big. We really didn't need to talk to him, but he had done some things that I had seen and I thought, wow, this dude's kind of cool. And so I made all the camera crew stay, brought him up and gave him, like, you know, we'd do 5 minutes on a red carpet, maybe max, like with Julia Roberts. I mean, you're out. And we gave this guy like 12 minutes and he never forgot that. And there was a situation years later where things were screwy and there was stuff happening. And I just texted him and said, look, I can help. And can you help me with this? And he's like, absolutely, dude. And he said to me when we met, like, I remember back in the day, you were the only dude that, you know, so you're absolutely right. And that you will meet them. You will meet some of these people. And a lot of times too, they will make your life richer in a way, because for me, I've been in it a while. I'm older than most all of you here, everybody here, actually, probably your combined ages. But for me, it allows me also to find these young talents that reinvigorate me, right? You're like, oh, that reminds me of so-and-so. And, you know, I can see where she's going. And it really reinvigorates me. So we'll go to Christina next. And any, you know, one piece of advice you'd have out there. You're a veteran, you've been there.
Yeah, the one thing that I would add is persistence and determination, because it just takes time, and there are going to be a lot of no's. But the thing is, that shouldn't discourage anybody. It should encourage you to just keep on going.
Yeah, and what I find with no's, and I tell when I meet younger people, is that the no's are just a screen. Every level has a screen, right? The screen starts like this, then it gets tighter and tighter and tighter with each no. So the more no's you get, that's okay. You'll be fine. You're going to get somewhere where you're going to fit right in there, and it'll be fantastic. Kamila, let's hear from you and a piece of advice that you give.
Yeah, I will say something similar that Christina said, because I would like to recall the advice I've heard from Darren Aronofsky at film festival when I met him once. And he told me, when he heard that I'm a film director, he told me, whoa, persistence. And I think this was something that was really, I recalled it so many times, because when you are a young filmmaker, this is like, the fact is that you are the only person who believes in your project from the beginning, and you have to fight so many obstacles, starting from, collecting the budget. And there's so many moments when you really want to give up.
Yeah.
That you need to generate some kind of a private obsession on this project to have this power to fight for it. And I really, I had many moments when I was just repeating these 3 words, like, this is the same, basically, persistence. And I'm really glad that Darren Aronofsky told me that at Kamerimash Festival in Poland.
Well, yeah, it's a good piece of advice, and we'll go to Bruno for the last thing in a second. But one of the things that people don't realize when they look at you guys or others who have made it is that, just think about a little bubble above their head, and there's probably like 75,245 hours that they put in their career to get to that point, right? To get to a festival, to actually, be able to say action and cut, check, print the gate, all those things. And it's an insanely amount of hard work and persistence. But when you do come through the other side, it's pretty damn cool. But Bruno, we'll leave it to you to do the final word. And then we have to give away the VIP swag bag as well. So go ahead, Bruno. Piece of advice, brother.
Yeah, one first is about the way you're presenting your story. If you can't come up with a short pitch, mm-hmm. if you take 5 minutes to tell the story of the film you're going to make or you have made, then I believe you have a problem. A good film should have a pitch that stays in 20 seconds or 30 seconds that make people say, oh, wow. One other thing I've heard before, I want to say in a different word, persistence. Yes, I want to say a different story about don't take no as an answer. I've been, as you can imagine, dealing with the hardest people in this industry, the heads of studios, the biggest talent you can imagine. And even as the head of the French territory, you're a small person. And if you need something, and if you talk to someone in between, you're going to get a no for an answer. If you talk to the head of international marketing, and most cases, oh, that's yeah, I like your idea, but blah blah blah. So don't take no for an answer, and fight for it. That's how I gained my independence. Like working on the Baron Münchhausen, they did not like my campaign. I fought for it. I had qualitative tests, and then say yes, but then I said, let's do quantitative test. I say, yeah, okay, go with it. And the film, The Baron Münchhausen, flopped everywhere in the world except France, was the #1 box office 8 weeks. And every time I would see the head of a studio, he would tap on my shoulder, Bruno, you were right. So basically, vision, persistence, vision. It's and stick to it, and try to talk to the person that has the power to say yes, not the person who has the power to say no. In other words, go above, one step above, and I believe you can be lucky. And believe in your star, because things happen, fairy tales happen in festivals mostly.
Good advice, especially on the pitch side, because when I started pitching early on, even though I was still at Access Hollywood, I went to pitch something at Fox, and I learned a really good lesson. And the lesson basically is, on TV shows, don't try to pitch bell bottoms to a skinny jeans company, because I was pitching shows that they weren't looking for. I mean, just know what their needs are, and then you can formulate. Oh, okay, show 1 I was going to pitch, part of show 2 and part of show 4. When you walk in the door, you say, "Look, what are you looking for?" And then you can kind of go in with that as well. And then persistence, 100%. Persistence is the #1 thing. Well, listen, we're coming to the end. The Showcase VIP swag bag winner, and I think we have maybe a slide we can pull up, and then I'll thank everybody, is Nicole Walker. She wins the swag bag and all the things in there. I've seen it before, so it's actually part of it's over here. As a man, I've even used some of the makeup or the whatever that line stuff is, because clearly I need it. Listen, this has been a joy for me. What's great is that the festivals will come back. and now we all know each other. So we should get together, all buy the champagne. We all get together somewhere and bring friends and make it a crazy ass little get together at some film festival and help each other out. Sound like a deal?
Yeah.
Thumbs up?
Yeah. I suggest the Bahamas. I'm on the board of advisor. Bahamas Film Festival next December.
I'm there. Bahamas in December?
Yeah, I'll be there as well. All right, everybody, listen, be safe out there. As we started this off, wear masks, as Rebecca said. Continued good luck. Now we're all connected, so if there's anything I can ever bring value to you guys, please don't hesitate. And we'll see you all soon.
Yeah.
Enjoy your Saturday and Sunday.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
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 Cognac.